one more time. Okay, I'm gonna see if you can hear me. I'm gonna pull up my video on my computer because apparently I was mute. I did not hear anything. So I don't know if it's when I upload the thumbnail when I'm trying to record, what's going on, because there's nothing wrong with my volume. It doesn't say muted or anything. Apparently society's a mess and so is this phone. Yeah. For all those who want to, they're going to be like, it's because you're using an Android. It doesn't matter what type of phone, it's the user of the phone. I guess you're not raised in the era to know that it's not the clothes that make the man or woman, it's the man or woman. So I think this generation got everything flipped on its head. So I shall see if you can hear me, because it's coming up with a sound check. That's why I can't do long videos. Sometimes when I start, I have all these technical issues up with the sound check. Oh, I guess it does work. Very good. See, you can always count on yourself. In a world where society is a mess, boys and girls, you got to count on yourself and the Most High. And as many times as people make fun of me and try to shame me for that, that's, it's just going to be evident in my life. And no matter how many times people try to fling poop your way, you'll just fling it right back. I actually had a really great thumbnail that I could use because that's what people need, guys. Oh, if you're asking what kind of lotion, I love sharing. Oh, this is like the best for moisturizing, and it has lavender in it. You don't even know. So I have my nails off because you need to let your natural, essence regrow. I don't want to beat on them where they look crazy or they get sick or I get all this fungus in it. So you got to let them breathe. So it's okay to go through your levels. And when people they'll, maybe look at people that don't have them, they'll think like, oh, they don't have enough money, or, they're raggedy. And it's like the people with the most wealth don't always wear it. Number one. Number two, you can watch different movies or classical movies. People with old money, they didn't, have the fake nails that girls think are so cool now and think it's a sign of something. Now, if you're going somewhere formal and you're wearing a dress and all of that, I can see doing the extra, couple of steps, but it's not practical for everyday life and it's not hygienic, right? So it's not a marker for anything, So, of course, when society's bred to look at things like upside down, and of course, I think television too, and YouTube now, it's almost becoming like a tabloid TV. Like nobody cares about real issues. Nobody's trying to look for solutions. They're just trying to, peddle more problems. And that's why it's just like hard to even, waste your time because you don't know who is, trying to do something harmful because you have a certain opinion on something. It's wild. And, I've been watching that show, Mad Men. I've been learning a lot from the era of when women were going to work and all of that and how to survive in those type of, environments. Not much has changed too. A lot of hypocrisy, a lot of double standards, but at least there was a little bit more class in some respect, I would say. But people's values, they change, I guess, to a certain point with the times, right? So what's cool for this era may have been different 20 years ago, may be different 20, 30 years from now, but certain things should be evident, And if people have way too much time being just talking about constant nonsense, gossip, and that's taking precedence over doing tangible things, or now it's getting even more fun where you're like, wow, now, certain people are coming together and actually trying to attack others or community activists instead of the people that are actually pushing the agendas and actually hurting the different neighborhoods, or the neighbors that don't care about other people's health even, or just littering the streets, or how about the dogs and all the dog poop that's everywhere too? That's another thing, right? And it's almost like a metaphor for life. So I figured like, yeah, that's definitely something to ponder on because I'm seeing that more and more lately. Or it could be people from other neighborhoods. I'm not sure, but sometimes it just seems like it's intentional, where it's like the placement and it's like on the street. And I'm like, wow, basic cleanliness and clean water should be like the order of the day for any discussion, which is like a huge problem, but nobody cares about that. It goes to show, society is too far gone. The more I research, the more I uncover, the more I'm like, hey, I think other people are going to want to hear about this. I think this is going to be groundbreaking, or, show people like who the players are. You think anyone's going to care about that? If it ruffles the wrong feathers, it's going to do more harm than good, right? And, so many people are bothering neighbors instead of looking at, maybe plants in the area, people who are in the area that shouldn't be, or, just things like that. And, trying to keep everyone like unbothered, especially if they don't bother other people too, right? So, like, so many people are here, saying, who did what. And it's like when people are like in the past too much, I can't roll with that because again, it just becomes more propaganda. And the more that people are doing that and, just being like hateful and not using it as education, all it's doing is like, targeting people who are just trying to educate, or thinking that their research was going to help someone else, right? But if all it's going to do, right, it's like that's why certain fields can be like that, because you'll uncover a story or you'll be too close to something. And it's like, are you really going to put yourself out there for an audience that, is trying to look for reasons to, give you a hard time and stuff? So it's one of those things that I tell people, not to put their life out there, but there's only so much you can do with like sending letters to your, state officials. Like, does anybody even care? It's almost like you just have to, take it the old fashioned route and, just tell people about themselves. Or, if they try to do something, as stupid as leaving their dog shit everywhere, it's like, yeah, someone needs to fling it in your house, in your backyard, and see how you like it. And if you have something to say to someone, say it to their face, instead of like doing all this weird stuff. And I don't care if it was an accident or not. It was way too close to my car. Did not appreciate. Literally, I go outside and it's like somebody, like a horse, like came out and like took a dump, and it was like inches from my tire. And I'm like, I'm so glad I saw that. I did take pictures, and I'm definitely going to start documenting that. And not to try to be a narc, but it's like, are you kidding me with this stuff, right? So it's like you're gonna try to, fling stuff at, random people, or use the world as your toilet, not realizing that you can contaminate a whole community. Like, isn't that how the plague was spread in Europe? And people don't care. And it's like, not to be inhumane, I love animals probably more than the pet owners who claim to love them, because they'll have them in like the smallest apartments or smallest conditions. And unless you have acres and they can roam around, or you can have like room to, have them be healthy and you clean up after them, I have no problem with that, because, inherently they are meant to live outside. They are related to wolves, just saying, right? So to like, castrate them in a way, right, to make them think like they need to just live off of you and stuff, and in an enclosed area, it's got to be like really stressful for them. So I wouldn't even wish that on them, right? And so it's almost like, how people complain about having kids. If you can't afford it, don't, right? But a lot of these people, they're just like shitty people in general. And it doesn't matter like, oh, your nationality or any of that stuff. If you're like a shitty person, you're going to be shitty regardless. You're going to look for ways to just like devolve your environment, just make things worse instead of making things better, And if you can't make things better, what do they say back in the day? If you got nothing nice to say, say nothing at all or do nothing at all. And people now think it's a flex to do all this extra stuff, right? But like, you're really getting punked out by like the real players, right? Because it's like, yeah, in a society where people are supposed to be free, you have to have a certain level of dignity and human decency around each other, right? And a lot of people don't care about that, right? They talk about having a work ethic or this ethic, or what about a human decency ethic? A human value ethic. Do people even care about that anymore? Because it's like that's the only ethic you even hear about. But the same people who push, like, oh, it's all about work ethics, this generation is slow or they're lazy, they don't even respect their marital vows. These are the kind of people that behind closed doors are doing all this like grimy ass stuff, right? So it's like, okay, I guess it's just subjective, right, from the person who's speaking of it. So in a society where everybody has a level of subjective morality, you really just got to worry about yourself, because there's so many people you can see that they have mommy and daddy issues. That's why they're on here, especially some of the female podcasters. Yeah, I said what I said. They obviously have an issue. Maybe they don't feel like they were born as attractive, or they look too much like their daddy. I don't freaking know. They didn't have luck in their own relationship. So now they got to go out of the way to tear down like their very nature. So as they talk about other women, it just makes men like, yeah, agree to a point because it's helping their cause, but they're looking at the speaker the same way. They just like that they have like a puppet to speak for them. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't even have to name names. I already know telepathically. People already know where I'm getting at. There's only so many, right? And that's what people like. And it's like, yeah, well, if it's a problem for women to actually step up and say and do something, then that's on you, right? Because society's going down the toilet. And if that's what people want, it's like it's programmed to self-destruct in a way. And I guess that's good for like the AI or things like that, right, guys? Like for the robots or whatnot. But like, what does that do for human beings and like the job market? And just like the value of humans entirely, there would be no need for it. And if people don't care about their own health, then what does that do? If they don't care about trash being thrown in the street, shit in the street, things like that, then where is people gonna, you know what I mean? How far are we gonna go with that? Am I getting a package? I think I'm getting a package. Doesn't really think that's my neighbor maybe dropping it off. I'm gonna get that in a minute, guys. We're at 12 minutes. There were some people in the chat. I guess nobody has any questions or anything to say, but I'm just saying, it's like I was sharing so much information and people weren't even like appreciating some of that stuff, and I was getting treated like a leper. But yeah, like the same people who are throwing the most stones and slinging the most shit, they're not doing anything productive or to help. All they're doing is just gossiping and everything else, right? And it's like that's what people care about mostly. It's just gossiping and tearing down the next person. So I'm not with that. I don't want to waste my time with that. So, I upload when I can. As my channel grows, we'll see where it goes. But you know what I mean? When you're trying to do something meaningful and people just got nothing but shit to, throw at you, especially when you don't mind your own business, or if they don't even care about the neighborhoods they live in. And it's like, yeah, of course you're going to say something. Of course you're going to look at people like they're disgusting, because it's like, why not help preserve society in a way to help ways to clean it up instead of just degrading it every chance you get. And then you have other countries like, okay, well, if that's what America's doing, like, what's the point, right? It's like, and even God too. It's like when you kick God out of the equation, I guess that's what happens, because like now there's like no standard at all. Like now there's like no restraint. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And if people have the audacity to let their animals roam around and just like shit everywhere and not care that spreads germs and disease, and that's like one way to really spread some like nasty shit, pun intended, then yeah, people need to figure you out, because now I'm gonna like look out and see who's doing that. People, now I can see where the old ladies who were peeping out the windows, where they started doing that. It's because people were doing really unscrupulous things and no one was seeing who was doing what. So all of a sudden they got to go peep through their blinds. I'm like, that's what I'm going to start doing if necessary, right? And I'm like, are you kidding me, right? So you go outside and it's like you park 1 minute and then it's like you go out there and it's like this big freaking pile of crap like on the street and you're like, who the hell did this? Is this are you people mad or something? Like I think so, and then you wonder about, oh, other people doing something to you. You see the state of, how some people live, like they just don't care. And it's like, if that's not good enough, then it's like even the language, even the way people talk and move, it's like, yeah, there's things that we can control before we start looking elsewhere. And this is something too for whoever's talking about politics or running for office. That's how I know it's a whole gag, because you get charged so much for water. But in certain places that I've been to, especially lately, even at my job, the water was like coming out and it was like brownish at first. And people were like, oh, that's well water, that's this. But it's happened in other city too, other types of areas that I was into. And then I was looking this stuff up. I'm like, wow, there is so many contaminants in the water supply. And like nobody cares. I'm like, people are slowly just like, you know what I mean, being poisoned and being taken, in 5 different ways, right? But yet everyone's coming to the conclusion like, oh, let me talk about this one's personal life. Let's just talk about relationships. Now we're going to make up something called financial celibacy. That's nothing new. People are so sad. It's like society has devolved where like the IQs have been like demolished so low that it's like little jobs like that is supposed to be groundbreaking. It's like, no, in my day, you were just called cheap. Okay. And they think, oh, I'm going to say all this before I get married. Obviously, you don't want to get married if you're talking like that. And people know that. And I don't think you'll be in jeopardy of being in the running for that if you already come into the equation. Because regardless of what you do, even with a new job or whatever, before you even get paid, you're putting money into it before you even get a payout. There's always a little something that, you have to do to get a little something back. And that's just life, right? But that's just, too much of common sense for some people. That's just too simple. I really tried to stick with that philosophy. What do they call it? Arkham's razor. Yeah, really, really simple, right? Sharp as a razor. Start with the simplest reason, then work your way back. And a lot of things are money motivated. Like everyone's fighting for survival. You have to look at it for what it is. And it really is like Rome. People only care about their bread and circuses. The gladiators are now football players. I mean, and like everyone thinks, oh, they make all this money. They're really controlled. You know what I mean? Like their whole day is scheduled. Like, you can't look at others and think like, oh, this is the epitome. And just the fact that what people put their morale on anymore, right, is just so base, as they say, that when you try to come with something like actually positive or helpful, there is no room for some of these. I'm like, that's just fine. Why am I going to give, helpful information? It's almost like going to the doctors, using them for your ailment, and then when you're done with them, now you're picking on them and you're saying, oh, I think many generations back, this and this happened, or I feel like I'm not going to pay the bill and you deserve to help me. Like, it's really crazy. And, I think only Michael Jackson would have a unique perspective, because he's probably the only one that knows how it is to live black and then white. And didn't he have that song, It Doesn't Matter If You're Black or White? All right, that was a really, really good song, okay? Really, really good. I'm just coating my throat. I got a lot going on right now today, guys. I got to fix my key fob. Apparently, I need a new battery. So it changed the course of my day. But then when I went outside, I'm like, people are just so crazy. They're really disgusting. People don't care about their personal health, their hygiene, none of that stuff. And it's always the ones who have the most to say about everyone else, who is so hateful. And all they're shown is that they obviously are hating maybe someone in their family. You could remind them of them. And it's like, take it up with your freaking therapist. Take it up with your whatever, your freaking whatever you do. Okay. Go play a freaking video game. And of course, that a lot of it is making people like way more violent in a way too. It's desensitizing people because they're just like sitting on their ass in like a safe space and they're doing all this shit. So that's making people like the cowards give them like a little bit of like, as they used to call it, liquid courage, cyber courage, where they can hide behind a screen and fling their crap on people and think like, we don't see you and we're not going to fling it right back. And people, yeah, they need to be monitored, and people who do that should be taxed. If you go to a hotel, I used to work at hotels, you would have to pay more if you brought a dog because they have to clean up after you. You got hair everywhere, all the stuff. Some people, you know what I'm saying? It's just common sense. But in the world, it's like they just bring them everywhere. Now, if you don't care about other human beings, then you shouldn't care about, you shouldn't be allowed to have pets then. Because if you put pets over other human beings and now you're flinging their shit everywhere, yeah, someone needs to collect that and smear it all over your house, smear it all over your porch, okay? And take pictures and be vigilant on that. And people need to worry about that in their neighborhoods, because I see people who come from out of town or go out of town and I think the rules don't apply to them. They just act like shit. It's probably what the passport bros are doing. The passport bros are the same ones who probably got the PPP loans, hence the name's passport bros, right? That's probably why they wanted to duck out of Dodge. Okay. Don't get me started. Oh my God, do not get me started. So guys, I was using a little bit of beef tallow, but yeah, this is good for, I love using this stuff. This is great for my hands. But yeah, people need to get fined for that type of stuff because they obviously don't care about, human decency or sanitation. There should be some type of sanitation law, and people's drinking water supply should be checked because we're getting charged for the water bill, and sometimes the water will come out looking crazy, and now you got to buy filters, and then they put all this additives, and things have not changed. You ever watch the movie Erin Brockovich? Well, she revealed all that stuff, and the people in different towns were getting cancer from being exposed to that stuff. Where's the people clamoring for that? You know what I mean? Where's all the money going for the cities and whatnot? And people need to realize too, if you got freaking shit on the streets and people are driving, that's going to go on their tires. That's going to trek all around. That's freaking disgusting. I have no tolerance for that. And I had dogs growing up and I took care of them and made sure that I cleaned up. Like, no, there is no freaking excuse for that. If you don't have the room, okay, if you don't have a house, I was raised in a house. So like we had a yard and all that. If you don't have things in play and you don't keep things clean, then what the hell, right? So it's like, hey, and that could be for anything too, because people are so quick to fling shit at people, and they have no business to. And I just find it so hypocritical and funny too, especially if you're outspoken and you talk about real things that's supposed to help people, but you have people that are hateful or try to hold things against you or things that didn't even affect them. And you could have had a falling out with someone and you'll have somebody unrelated to it trying to have their 2 cents, but you already rectified it with the person that you had a falling out with, and you guys are cool and you guys, forgave each other and all this stuff. And you know what I mean? Like so many things, right? So this can go on into many different ways. So just because, I have things to say about things that I don't agree with doesn't mean that I have problems with people. I want anything to happen, but it shows how people are so cowardly, like they wouldn't approach you or, hey, leave me a note if you got a problem. Hey, that could have been an accident, because there were people like, oh, that was just a shitty dog owner. Ha ha ha. That was just a shitty dog owner. But I'm like, yeah, that was way too close to my car. And I'm like, how about if I ran over that? How about if somebody else ran over that? I like to know. Now I'm going to be putting a camera and I'm going to be staring at that spot. You go ahead and try. And if I find out there's someone around, you're going to find a freaking pile of shit on your doorstep and see how you like it. Because that is not how people should be living. And like nobody even cares. It's like, if it's not about gossip or talking about each other, yeah, people are full of shit and that's all they care about, and it's pretty sad. So that's why you just got to be careful with even wasting your time, sharing certain things. And of course, because people are just gonna, view it in a negative way, and everyone's looking for a reason to do something bad instead of doing something good, right? And then when the things happen to them, everyone else is supposed to care about it. But people have their ethics all screwed up. They just make it up as they go along, and they have the nerve to, pick on anyone who, tries to say anything about anything that's actually meaningful. But it is what it is, because society is messed up, guys. It can be a thankless job to research some things. I do talk about history sometimes, but that can always, put you in the sunken place too. How far back can you go as well too? It's like, yeah, you can only quantum leap for so long, right? Just having a memory or a flashback feels like a form of, like, bringing yourself back to that time. And there's a lot of things that, we all can share that, you know what I mean, is traumatizing in this society, right? But it's like, if everyone is just looking for ways to go against their neighbor and not collaborate and do anything to move society forward, then that's why everyone's so fragmented. But, just got to separate yourself and make sure that you're on the right track. You're do positive stuff, and don't let, their bullshit affect you and soil you and what your plan is. So thank you so much for joining me, guys. Make sure you like the video. I got a lot to do today, and I hope you stay well. And regardless of what's going on, you make sure that you treat people right. And if they don't treat you right, that says more about them, and you just keep it pushing. No worries. Bye.